got the acoustic out. Look at how thin this thing is. And it's an acoustic guitar. Look, no pickups. But it rocks like an electric guitar. Alright, let me try to play something here for you. This one, my buddy Pat Gladden, when I was in the Navy, we used to play guitars every single day, and because we were broke. We didn't drink Bud Light or Coors Light, we drank Natty Light. So Busch Light was when we had some money. But he was from Alabama, and man, you talk about a badass guitar player. Great dude too. But we were roommates. We had was on the USS Ronald Reagan, and before we were on the ship while they were actually building it. So what they would do when you were the new people there, you would have to live in the barracks for so long. They had a barracks. It was an old high school. Huntington Hell is what we called it. Huntington Hall in Newport News, Virginia. But we had to stay there for so long and keep your nose clean, and then you could apply to go to a hotel, long stay hotel. And once you proved that you didn't act like a idiot and you could keep that, then you could apply to live out in an apartment because they were still building the ship. There was nowhere to sleep. So anyway, me and Pat, we filled out together, but they put 3 of us in an apartment. And both of us, we were what they call slick sleeves at the time. We weren't petty officers, we were firemen. We worked in Reactor Department. I've got stories about that. I ended up in engineering department in the machine shop, but I had to qualify all of the steam plant stuff. Pat used to do this impression of me. I was intense because I was pissed. I did not want to be down there. Anyway, maybe we'll talk about that someday. But yeah, me and Pat, man, we jammed every day. They put us with this one idiot in our apartment. He was a freaking weirdo. And we always tried to invite him out. I mean, we partied the crap out of that place. We tried to be cool at first, and the dude was just a freaking weirdo. He left us a note one day because I think somebody had drank one of his drinks or something. Big deal. But he addressed his grievance with us and then signed it petty officer. I remember we took all of his shit and dumped it down the drain, wadded that note up and pinned it to his door. Oh man, I think we did some other bad shit that day, but he was a dick, man. Anyway, he put in to move out. We tried to be cool with him. But when 9/11 happened, he put in a, what do they call it? A conscientious objector deal. Tried to get out of the Navy. Which, hey man, at the time, we didn't know everything we know now. You know, we were in Virginia. all this shit had just happened. Nobody knew anything. We didn't know that we were being played. But some of the best times of my life was sitting out there on that porch drinking Natty Light. There was a couple girls that would come down, and just friends, you know, they'd come out and sit on the porch, and we'd sit and play guitars, and it was a good time. We were young, man. That would have been probably 2001, 2002. But it seems like it was just yesterday, man. I remember pulling up to that ship, USS Ronald Reagan in Newport News. I was fresh out of boot camp. And you could see this thing from miles away. The mast. Newport News, it's a pretty big town, but where the shipyard is, it's pretty flat. You know, there's not a whole lot of buildings and stuff, so I could see it from the Hampton Coliseum. And when we got down there, I was just blown away that this much steel can float. But it was a life-changing experience that day, that's for sure. But my issue, and I fought the Navy and I won. Oh, I fought the Navy hard. So here's a lesson right here for any of you that's thinking about going to the Nav. Where my recruiter got me. See, I had been to school to be a machinist. That's all I was into was, being a machinist, machining, and CNC programming. I loved that stuff. When I did the high school, what do they call it, vocational, and did a little bit of college before I went to the Navy. So when I went to the recruiter, the reason I went to the recruiter, that's another story. I was engaged to this girl. I was young, and I was in love. We're good friends to this day, but anyway. So I took the ASVAB. I took it in high school, and I went and took it again. And your job in the military that you qualify for is based on that ASVAB score. Well, I did really good. And that recruiter told me, he said, well, look here, man. He said, I got the perfect opportunity for you. You get your journeyman's card. He said, it's called an apprenticeship. Navy has a wonderful apprenticeship. And I thought, man, that's awesome, because that's what I wanted. I wanted that journeyman card so bad. That's what I was going to do. I was going to be a machinist. And signed up all the paperwork, went to maps. But the way that he sold it on me, because I told him, I said, not a machinist mate. I know what a machinist mate is. That's the snipe that works down in the pit. I said, a machinist. So he told me, he said, well, let's do this. He said, let's put you in the apprenticeship. It's called a fireman apprentice. Red flag. Number one. And basically what you will be doing, because fireman plus apprentice, he said you'll be down in the machine shop working on your journeyman card. You'll be making parts for the ship, being a tool maker. And when the ship is on fire, you will be on the fire department. Cool, sign me up. Bam, I'm down. I think there was like a $2,000 or $3,000 sign-on bonus too. I said, let's do it, man. Well, I got to boot camp. First night of boot camp, I called home. The RDCs, the Recruit Division Commanders, they told us, they said, all right, motherfuckers, there's a hole in the fence right here, and there's a hole in the fence down there. If you want out, get out of here. I called home and I told everybody, I said, screw this. I said, I know where the holes in the fence are. I'm coming home. Anyway, it was an experience. So fast forward, I went to a school. It wasn't really, I guess it'd be an A school. But anyway, I got to the ship, and there was a bunch of us that had gotten there that day, straight from boot camp, straight from school. And they lined us all up, and there was this, he was a captain or a commander, I can't remember. But he was walking down the line, he said, engineering, reactor. Engineering, reactor. And as he got to me, he said reactor, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Because at this time, I knew what Reactor Department was. I knew what engineering department was. I was supposed to be an engineering department. So I had my I Love Me book with all of my qualifications, all of my schooling, everything that I'd done. I said, hey, I'm a machinist, Didn't give a shit. I said, okay, I'll tell you what you are is an undesignated sailor, and you do whatever we need. Needs of the Navy. So, I get to my division. Reactor Division. M Division. Machinery Division, which is the machinist mates, which I told them I didn't want to be. But, you know what, man? Those were some of the best days of my life. And I met some of the best people. Got arrested at a Dave show, Dave Matthews, and spent a day and a half in the drunk tank at down in Virginia Beach. That was fun. But I'll tell some stories about all that one of these days. But anyway, what I ended up doing, they told me, they said, I'll tell you what, they gave me a list of qualifications. If you qualify this, we'll consider striking you out to engineering department. I did all of the courses, everything, all the books. I mean, I was on it. I was going to the machine shop on my time off, making, relationships, and I did all these qualifications for Reactor. And I remember the day that I went upstairs to the division office, and my chief, our LCPO, and our division officer was sitting in there. The Divo, he was an ensign, but he was prior enlisted. And my chief, he was a cool dude, but he was pretty old school. So I did all this stuff, and I told him, I said, hey man, I've done all this. I've been waiting for a couple months. I want to get this thing on the road. And I remember my Divo, he looked over at me, and he said, well, you're too valuable. I can't get rid of you. You've got all these qualifications to stand all these watches down in the steam plant. And I looked over at him and I said, you motherfucker. So here I am, this little, I think I was the E3 at the time, just called my ensign a motherfucker. Chief jumps up, fucking grabs me and pushes me out the door, and it got wild. So from that point on, I didn't go to captain's mast. They knew I was upset. They knew why. So I went to, what did I do? Oh, I started getting squared away. I started ironing my uniforms and starching my shirts. And I came in early and I stayed late, and I worked my ass off. And And I became a totally, my thinking changed. Everything changed. I started owning my watches. That way, when I went in front of the captain, I made an appointment, and I had the engineering guys actually backed me. Petty Officer Siebert, he was first class at the time, and I think he saw something in me, and he gave me a chance. But he went to the I can't remember what they call it, but you go in front of the command master chief, the captain, and the XO, along with the division heads, which that was a commander at the time. He was really cool. But I told him why I wanted to go over to engineering and what I had done in the past and why I was qualified. And it was almost kind of like I hit a brick wall. So when it came time to take my third class test, since I was unrated, I got to choose who I tested for. Machinery repairman, or I could test for machinist mate. I could test for anything, any rate in the Navy I could test for. And the way that they do the testing in the Navy is ridiculous, man. The DEI shit has been around for a long time. So I didn't pick up third on my first time around, but I was meritoriously advanced to third class petty officer by my command at the Christmas party. And I got to stand up in front of everybody. It was so cool. But they meritoriously advanced me to third class. A big reason I was the first E3 and below to qualify the surface warfare specialist and the aviation warfare specialist, which when I qualified those two, I got to wear a pin on my uniform that designated that. And as an E3, this is stuff that takes, they're not just handed out. I mean, you get a book and it's that thick. You got to know everyone's job on the ship. You got to know a little bit about everything on the ship. You're tested on it. You go through boards just to earn this little pin that pins on your uniform. Well, I qualified both. Air warfare, since we're an aircraft carrier, we could qualify aviation warfare. So my official title was, at that time, before I was frocked to third, it would have been, what is E3? I know there's seaman recruit, seaman apprentice, so it'd been... Anyway, I was the first to do that on the ship before it was commissioned. And when I got my third class petty officer, now I was an MR. So now Reactor Division had no choice but to let me go. And that was the start of a whole big, humongous journey. And everything has led me to this point right here in my life. But I've got some really good Navy stories. Maybe I'll tell you. I was in the Navy for almost 10 years. Maybe right at 10 years. But I had some good times. All right.